the sky, a terrifying rift appeared, causing a boy to collapse in fear. A girl with 9 tails gracefully descended from the crack, landing softly on the ground. The boy, utterly awestruck, thought her a divine gift. Little did he know, her next words would drop his jaw in shock.
男女のちぎりを交わすのだ。
ちぎりって。
Hatchy, a seasoned gamer and lifelong bachelor, had finally managed to get a girlfriend. Overjoyed, he excitedly made a video call to her, only to discover she was actually a burly man picking at his feet. Crushed, the innocent Hatchy couldn't recover. To cheer him up, his friend showed him a picture, claiming it was a ritual spell that might summon a girlfriend. Although it was a joke, Hatchy took it to heart. Back home, he gathered all the necessary tools as depicted in the picture. The only challenge was acquiring the blood of a young virgin. Facing his fearsome little sister, Hatchy bravely chose to use his own blood instead.
Hentai.
With everything ready, he recited the spell, but nothing seemed to happen. Realizing his foolishness, Hatchy lay down on his bed in disappointment. Just then, mysterious purple flames ignited, and the female warrior, as if summoned, appeared. The next day, a beautiful girl greeted Hatchy. Seeing her charming face, Hatchy was convinced the spell had worked, but she walked away with another guy, leaving Hatchy in an awkward and seemingly destined singleton state. Just then, dark clouds filled the sky and a purple rift appeared. From it, descended the 9-tailed lady, Iki, who landed assertively before a shocked Hatchy. After a brief introduction, Iki declared her intention to start a family with Hatchy. Panicking, Hatchy stood up and asked if this was some kind of prank show. But seeing Iki's serious expression, he timidly tried to leave only to be pulled back by a mysterious force. Terrified by such bold declarations, Hatchy fled. But upon returning home, he found Iki already there, coolly insisting they must have children together. Unbeknownst to Hatchy, he was caught in a crisis. Just a week earlier, a boy was being chased by a mysterious figure in the library. In a panic, he hid and posted a picture online, but at that moment, the mysterious figure cornered him in a dead end. Hatchy stumbled upon the photo and, through a bizarre twist of fate, inadvertently summoned Iki. With Iki constantly by his side, Hatchy had no choice but to accept her presence.
なぜこの泥水起こってる？
飲んだことないの？美味しいや。
これは力がみなぎる。よし、ダンジョンのちぎりを交わすぞ。
His friend Tanuki noticed that Iki resembled the fox spirit in the picture but wasn't sure. To calm the restless Iki, Hatchy decided they should date before considering anything else. Thus, their day as a couple began. Iki was curious about everything, and they even ended up taking fun photos together at a photo booth. As they were preparing to go home, they ran into the school bully who was mesmerized by Iki's beauty. He immediately harbored ill intentions and invited her to a party at his brother's house that evening. Seeing the invitation, Iki pondered. Since Hatchy was reluctant to be her partner, she decided to find a temporary one at the party, seeing it as the perfect opportunity. Feeling dejected, Hatchy confided in his friend Tanuki about his sorrow, but Tanuki advised him to forget Iki, warning that she would only bring trouble. It turned out that Koki, who had disappeared after posting the picture, had encountered the same fox spirit depicted in the image clearly. Iki was a dangerous entity. Despite the warning, Hatchy was too thrilled to have someone interested in him and was not ready to give up. At the party, the atmosphere was lively. The school bully was pestering Iki, trying to engage her in a dart competition. As soon as Hatchy arrived, Iki felt a surge of warmth. Before the bully could speak, Iki threw a dart that interrupted him. Sensing trouble, Hatchy quickly took Iki and hid in a coat room. Tanuki, concerned for his friend, arrived searching for Hatchy. He had discovered that fox spirits attached to a man, using him as a host to regain their original power through a forbidden ritual, after which the spirit must depend on the host to survive. Tanuki came to warn Hatchy, but by then, it was too late. Iki had already regained her powers. When Tanuki found Hatchy, he was still caught up in his excitement and didn't listen to his friend's warnings. Only later did Hatchy realize the gravity of the situation. In the host's room at the party, Iki gazed at the items displayed on the cabinet and realized that Kazuki Moto was the person she was seeking. She then drew a demonic queen's longsword. By the time Hatchy and his companion arrived, they only witnessed Iki severing the head of Kazuki. Suddenly, a knock at the door sent them into a panic. Unsure of what to do, Iki pulled them into a shadow tunnel and they vanished from the scene. quickly reappearing in Hatchy's home. The events that had just unfolded made them realize the seriousness of their situation. Iki is a true demon, taking a life with reckless ease.
の世界を通しての
何これリアルだよな。メタバースじゃない。現実だよ。ログアウト。
Now, she plans to use the severed head for an important ritual and needs their assistance. Hatchy agreed to help, fearing for his life, while Tanuki, terrified, fled the room. Meanwhile, the police arrived at the scene. A mysterious figure appeared outside, knocking out an officer before donning the officer's uniform and entering. He threw a handful of red powder, visually recreating the murder scene, and then muttered some cryptic words before leaving, seemingly satisfied with the answers he had obtained.
の妖怪がこちらの世界に来て
Traumatized by Iki's actions, Hatchy tried to break up with her, but Iki informed him that they were bound by an ancient pact. If one died, the other could not escape a similar fate. They were forever linked. The next morning, Iki dragged Hatchy into the street. He tried to use school as an excuse to leave, but Iki insisted he feed her first. Reluctantly, Hatchy bought her a crepe, which she joyfully devoured like a happy child. After eating, Iki planned to continue their mission to collect the heads of the cursed. Hatchy was horrified. Murder was a crime, and he desperately wanted to stop her. Iki, interpreting his hesitation as a sign of their insufficient bond, decided to hold a traditional engagement ceremony that night. In desperation, Hatchy sought Tanuki's help to escape from Iki. They went to the library to find a spell to break the contract, but could not find any clues in the books. Fortunately, they met Elisa, a history professor, who helped them locate the necessary spell. Everything was set except for the east wind. At night, Hatchy went to an abandoned school to draw a ritual circle, and Tanuki bought offerings. Lacking a live chicken, he substituted a roast chicken, not realizing this decision would nearly cost him his life. With preparations complete, Tanuki hid, ready to recite the spell at the right moment. Meanwhile, Iki arrived in full ceremonial attire, but what she did next was something monsters would never normally do. To thank Hatchy, Iki infused modern flair into their traditional dance, officially sealing their bond. Unexpectedly for Iki, Hatchy was plotting her exile. Noticing Hatchy's tense movements, Iki quickly sensed something amiss. At the critical moment, Hatchy called out to the hidden Tanuki to recite the expulsion spell, but Iki showed no reaction. This infuriated Iki. Switching back to combat mode, she appeared instantly in front of Tanuki, lifting him with one hand and hurling him 100 meters away. Terrified, Tanuki picked up a fork, ready to battle Iki. However, Iki summoned shadow clones that circled him, disorienting him. In the chaos, Tanuki accidentally stabbed Iki's palm. Unable to hide her murderous glare, Tanuki retreated in fear. Iki, undeterred, removed the fork, healed her wound, and unleashed a dark energy that lifted Tanuki into the air. As the spell was recited, a barrier formed in the void, trapping him. As Iki was about to tear him apart, Hatchy hurriedly explained that he meant no harm to Iki. He only wished to return her to her own world. This exacerbated the situation. To impress upon Hatchy the gravity of their oath, Iki prepared to sacrifice Tanuki. Seeing this, Hatchy had no choice but to accept their pact, promising no further mischief and begging Iki to spare Tanuki. Seeing Hatchy kneel, Iki softened, releasing Tanuki but not easily forgiving. Until Hatchy realized his mistake, she wouldn't speak to him, much like an angry girlfriend. Just then, as Iki stepped onto the street, red powder fell from the sky. A mysterious figure emerged, transporting them through a shadowy realm until they both tumbled into the kitchen.
Tenka, あの時殺したはず。
お前はこの世界から追放された身。
今一度仕留めてやる。
永久に追放してやる。
Words barely exchanged, they clashed immediately. The scene was too chaotic to describe. From the kitchen, they fought onto a bus roof, and into the bus, accidentally destroying a man's carefully prepared flowers. Finally, they reached a temple. Iki, harboring deep hatred for this place, attacked without hesitation, but she was no match for Tenkai, who flung her using shadow powers. Upon discovering that Tenkai wielded an artifact gifted by the Wumao organization, an artifact containing power stolen from her relatives, Iki threw caution to the wind and hurled herself at Tenkai, resolved to destroy the artifact even at the cost of her own injury. Injured, Iki returned to Hatchy's home but, too proud, wouldn't ask for help, silently enduring her pain. However, seeing the loving breakfast Hatchy prepared, her heart began to thaw. Smoke emerged from the sewer as Tenkai conducted a ritual, blowing a flame onto the dead Koki, who then became a living corpse, bound to obey Tenkai's commands. Meanwhile, a bully approached Hatchy. Just as he was about to strike, Iki appeared, catching his punch and threatening him fiercely. If not for Hatchy's timely plea, the bully's arm might have been ruined. Yet, ungrateful, the bully left harsh words before fleeing in panic. Just then, Iki felt a sharp pain, and Hatchy realized she was seriously injured. She asked Hatchy to take her to a pure spring. So, the two made their way to a temple where the spring water on the mountain behind it possessed miraculous properties. With just a sip, Iki's wounds began to heal. Hatchy shared with Iki that as a child, his grandmother had brought him here, so whenever clean spring water was mentioned, he immediately thought of this place. At the spring's edge, Iki felt a surge of magical energy, which moved her to forgive Hatchy. I watched the rest of the plot for you, it's not worth the details. 3 hours later, Hatchy and Iki happily left the spring, startled by the sudden appearance of a monk who, fortunately, bore no ill intent.
僕たち散歩をしてただけです。
私にも若い時はありました。
As they prepared to depart, the monk cryptically reminded Hatchy that they would meet again. To avoid detection by her family, Iki moved to an abandoned school where she continued her hunt for the guardians. Curious, Hatchy asked why, prompting Iki to reveal the truth. Long ago, humans and yokai lived in peace, each leading tranquil lives. However, one day humans betrayed the yokai, sparking a war aimed at eradicating them. Iki's mother was killed during this conflict. Ultimately, 5 powerful human families banded together, sealing the surviving yokai into a void space. Centuries passed, and with each generation, the 5 great families selected a guardian for the barrier. Only by killing all the guardians can the curse be lifted and the sealed yokai freed. This was Iki's purpose for coming to the human world, and Hatchy finally understood that stopping Iki from killing was impossible. Meanwhile, police investigating Kazuki Moto's death arrived at his father's company. The man, seemingly driven mad by grief, left all affairs to the company's legal advisor, Sajin. The police chief inquired whether the missing Koki and the murdered Kazuki Moto had any connection. Sajin claimed ignorance, noting Koki was just an intern. After the police left, Sajin headed to the underground tunnel where he met with Tenkai. Clearly sharing some dark secrets between them, he warned Tenkai that the police were searching for Koki and advised caution. As expected, the police chief didn't believe Sajin and began a surveillance investigation. However, Sajin was careful, and the police only discovered that he frequented the same 5 places daily, which seemed unremarkable. Hatchy visited the abandoned school to find Iki but accidentally triggered a trap. Much to her satisfaction, later, Iki informed Hatchy that to find the remaining 4 heads, they needed the help of the Dragon Gorge Jade, which could identify the sealed guardians. Conveniently, Hatchy had seen the Dragon Gorge Jade in his university's exhibition hall. At that moment, a professor was calling his pet kitten, which suddenly spoke human language.
沢田殿。美月ちゃん？
はい、そうです。
喋ってる。
Iki revealed that she was the professor's pet cat, choosing to show her true form out of respect for his extensive knowledge.
そうだにゃ。あなたの助けが必要だにゃ。竜のバカ玉どこにゃ。
The professor quickly sensed something was amiss and poked the kitten with an exhibit item. Iki revealed her true form, frightening the professor into screaming and fleeing. However, as soon as she closed the door, Iki was already standing behind her. The professor explained that the Dragon Gorge Jade had been loaned anonymously to the school for an exhibition and had since been returned. She didn't know its current location.
まさか妖怪本当に存在したの？役立たずが。
Iki lowered her weapon and did not harm the professor but demonstrated what a real yokai was. The professor fainted from fright, and Iki left. satisfied with the encounter. When she popped out of Hatchy's closet, he nearly peed his pants in fright. Upon learning that the dragon-hooked jade was no longer at the school, they had no choice but to hack into the school's server to search for it. But hacking wasn't Hatchy's forte. The two had to seek help from Ikari, who was skilled in this area.
光殿に会いに来た。え、私？
ちょっと手伝ってほしくて。
イージー、よろしくね。よろしく。
Just then, Hatchy's phone was hacked, and Hikari used it to track down the hacker's location right in the school library. Following the signal, everyone headed to the basement only to find a dead end. Oddly, there was a symbol on a bookshelf. Iki noticed something fishy, pushed gently, and a secret door slowly opened. As they just entered the tunnel, a giant rat suddenly appeared. The trio, inexperienced in worldly ways, were about to run, but Iki stayed behind with Hatchy. With a swift motion of his hand, she obliterated the massive rat. A strong demonic aura filled the area, and then Koki, turned into a zombie, appeared. Without a second thought, Iki killed him on the spot. The next second, Tenkai reappeared. Knowing Iki was a tough opponent, he decided to attack Hatchy. Since the two shared a bond, killing Hatchy would mean Iki's death too. She wasn't about to watch Hatchy in danger without acting. She clashed with Tenkai once again. Hatchy, intending to throw a stone to help, accidentally gave Tenkai an advantage. Distracted, Iki was sent flying and knocked out by Tenkai, who then mercilessly enchanted his weapon and turned on Hatchy. In the nick of time, Iki awoke, saved him, and released smoke. Together, they escaped from the barrier-protected underground tunnel. As Tenkai pursued, Iki, finally able to use shadow traversal, took Hatchy and left the area. The enemy proved more formidable than expected. Although the enemy was now stronger, with Hatchy's support, Iki regained his confidence. At that moment, the police chief arrived at the temple with his team for an investigation and saw a shadow flash by. Following it, they discovered the exit from which Iki and Hatchy had escaped. Meanwhile, underground, members of the Gomeo gathered. It turned out Sashin and Tenkai were their secret envoys, secretly carrying out missions for the organization. Given Iki's emergence, the group decided to unite once again to send her back to the void space.
そうでしょ、二宮さん。
その通りです、会長。